Hey everybody, it's Mike from Electric City Sentai DenziCaster, and on this edition of DenziNow, I'm checking out the first 8 episodes of Power Rangers Ninja Steel. Folks, it is time for another edition of DenziNow, and, well, I really did this one to myself, folks. Of course, DenziNow is the show here on the ECS network where I take a look at currently airing tokusatsu shows. And since Power Rangers Ninja Steel, I don't have cable, right? So Power Rangers Ninja Steel, the first 8 episodes recently went up on Netflix. So I decided, what the hey? Let's watch the first 8 episodes of Power Rangers Ninja Steel. Woo! So, to give you guys a little bit of background before we delve into stuff here about the show, Power Rangers Ninja Steel is based off the Super Sentai series Ninja. It is the 24th official season of Power Rangers Ninja Super Steel, which will be the second season of this show. Will officially be the 25th series. It gets the 25th anniversary tag to it. The plot of the show is, on the surface, interesting, and I will freely admit that I was actually really excited when I first heard about the show. To give you sort of a broad stroke concept of what Power Rangers Ninja Steel is supposed to be, Power Rangers Ninja Steel features our team of high school heroes, one of whom is the descendant of a great ninja and was trained to be a ninja himself. The character is Brody. Brody is, in fact, his father is described as the greatest ninja that ever lived in various places here in the show at this point. But he winds up having to protect the ninja power stars. He is initially kidnapped by a group of aliens, and the spaceship that they are on is essentially a roving set studio transmission station for a show called Galaxy Warriors. And this intergalactic television smash sensation is more or less, it feels a lot like, for the older folks in the audience like myself, the older fans, like WMAC Masters. Basically, 2 monsters are transported down to a planet to do battle with each other to see which one is the Galaxy Warrior, or could be worthy of being Galaxy Warrior champion. And they will be brought up to the Prism Nexus, which is this big crystal-looking thing that they will reach into and try to pull the ninja power stars out of. So that is the gist of the setup of the show. Eventually, the Rangers themselves, the human high school kids, get the stars out of the Nexus Prism. They're able to control it, to use it to create other ninja power stars through this substance called Ninja Steel. And it is up to the villainous champion of Galaxy Warrior, Galvanax, who is going to basically use the contestants of Galaxy Warrior as a means to defeat the Power Rangers. He changes the rules of the show so that if you defeat the Power Rangers and reclaim even a single ninja power star, then you are declared a Galaxy Warrior champion. The high-level idea is so different from that of Ninja that it really did kind of psych me up. Ninja, all of the Rangers, all of our heroes were related to one another, save Gold, and each of them were vying for the title The Last Ninja. The Last Ninja had imprisoned the big bad of that series many moons ago. He was in retirement. He was grandpa. The son really wasn't a talented ninja, but he was a talented teacher, so he became the mentor to the Ninja team. And the question was, which of them would take over the grandfather's role of the last ninja? And it was patently ridiculous. Ninja was one of the shows that we watched on DenziCaster in the earliest days of the show, back when it was nothing more than a podcast. And we didn't even make it through 10 episodes of that show before we all punched out and said, we're done with this one. Eventually, I will go back to Ninja, and I will actually try to watch it all the way through. But Power Rangers Ninja Steel, I've been holding out hope for. And I have discovered that it is hopeless. This is not good, folks. So we're going to be as fair and objective as I can. We're going to go through the episodes here real quick, just give you an idea of the 8 episodes I watched, and then my impressions. Episode 1 is called Return to the Prism. Brody, our hero, and his robotic sidekick Redbot escaped Earth from this alien spaceship with the Ninja Nexus Prism, along with, and meets 2 new friends, Preston and Sarah. They unlock some of the different powers. Specifically, he gets the Red Star. Preston is our Blue Ranger, and Sarah is our Pink Ranger. And that's sort of where it all begins, and we see the backstory set up for the whole series there. Forged in Steel is essentially the second half of a series premiere. But in this one, while Brody, Preston, and Sarah are going back to Brody's house from when he was a kid to try to find various items and his family and further assistance, Haley and Calvin, who are destined to become our white and yellow Rangers, respectively, meet a strange alien named Mick. Mick, we also see in episode 1, he's a mechanic and he's friends with Brody. Then in episode 3, Live and Learn, we get to see the Ninja Steel Megazord for the very first time, as well as Ninja Master Mode, which is the Ranger's cockpit mode for this series. We get to see some new stars. Brody goes to school for the very first time, just skips straight to high school for some reason, and keeps using his computer, a wrist-worn computer called the Datacom, to get answers to everything, and gets accused of cheating. And his over-reliance on the Datacom becomes apparent. So he winds up learning over the course of the episode to rely on himself and not some random piece of technology. Episode 4 is Presto Changeo, which is an episode focusing on our Blue Ranger, Preston, and basically he figures out that he has developed actual honest-to-God magic powers. In the meantime, Galvanax is working on another plan to capture the stars, but the whole episode more or less revolves around Preston learning that his magic will only work if he uses it for the right reasons. Interesting concept. For the record, Ninja, the Blue Ninja, was a magician in Ninja, so they translate that over here pretty much straight over to Preston's character, although Preston is an aspiring stage magician, not a legit Harry Potter guy. Then in episode 5, Drive to Survive, the Rangers are caught by the latest contestant of Galaxy Warriors, Tangleweb, and his spiderweb prison. Meanwhile, Calvin is going to have to overcome his fear of vehicles. Apparently, he flipped a go-kart or ran it off the road or something as a child, and it has scarred him for life. And he can't stand cars or motorcycles, whatever. Loves working on them, loves building them, but can't drive them. We get the first of our auxiliary Zords for the series, the Rumble Tusk Zord, elephant. And we also get to see the Megamorph cycles. They're two-wheeled conveyance for this series. Worth noting that by this point, their hideout is the high school. They're actually hiding in the high school in the paint room, actually, where you would paint cars or whatever else. But it's all because the principal is about dumb as a brick and thinks that Mick is the shop teacher that they just hired. My Friend Redbot is episode 6. In this episode, Bad Pipes, the next contestant on Galaxy Warrior, targets Haley, and she and Redbot have to work together to find a way to save them, and she basically has to overcome a certain amount of prejudice in the episode. Initially, Redbot asks her out to the school dance, which she refuses because he's a robot. But then she figures out that it's not just how you look that makes you human. There's lots of other things involved. So that's sort of the moral of the story. Hack Attack is episode number 7. And Sarah, our Pink Ranger, decides that she's going to pad her resume for college by taking part in as many clubs at school as humanly possible. So, or in this case, inhumanly possible. She figures out a way. She's a technical whiz, and she figures out how to create holographic clones of herself and uses those to take part in 4 different clubs that all meet at the exact same time. But she also figures out what happens when you spread yourself too thin and don't focus on one thing at a time. In the meantime, the next contestant on Galaxy Warrior, Hack Track, steals the cloning technology for himself and uses it to create an army of giant Galvanaxes, at least temporarily. Also in this episode, we get the debut of the Astrozord, which looks much like a UFO. And in the Ninja, it was UFO Maru. But we get the debut of that in that episode. And then episode number 8, and mercifully the last episode that's on Netflix that I had to watch today, is Gold Rush, which is the debut of our Gold Ranger. Now, we've seen the Gold Power Star a couple episodes earlier. We see that our female monstrous villain, whose name escapes me because, if I'm perfectly honest, at a certain point I stopped paying attention, Madame Odious. She has apparently been brainwashing him or trying to or something, had him hooked up to an apparatus of some sort. I'm sure that will come back to bite everyone in the butt later. But they are trying, both the Rangers and who now know the Gold Ranger, because all 6 stars were present when the show started. Just at some point one of them went missing, that being the gold one. The Rangers want to figure out who the Gold Ranger is. Galvanax wants to figure out who the Gold Ranger is because the Gold Ranger is offing monsters solo. And what you end up with is the Gold Ranger's identity being that of a country music singer, superstar, who happens to be in town on tour. So, yeah, that's the first 8 episodes by synopses. Folks, this is just kind of rough. So, impressions. First things first. As I duck off camera for a moment to bring over something I can set my laptop on, some of the things that I really enjoyed about Ninja, and they were very few, are present here. I think the costumes are fantastic, actually. I really like the Ninja / Ninja Steel hero outfits. I do like those. One of the things that we get here, which is a tradition for the ninja shows, which is sort of a civilian ninja form at some point, in the 3rd season of Mighty Morphin, when we get the first taste of ninja powers in Power Rangers. That's the ninjetti costumes, the loose-fitting ninja outfits in multiple colors. Then you have Ninja Storm, where the heroes had their school outfits of the ninja academies, and those were cool. Here, it essentially is heavily padded armor, and it looks horrible. It looks big and bulky and looks like it should provide more protection than the Ranger outfits do. So that's probably not a good thing. So I don't care for that. But the actual Ranger costumes themselves are fine. The Ninja Master Mode looks a little on the goofus side of things. But quite frankly, so have most of the cockpit modes up to this point. The cockpit modes in Samurai or the Mega Mode, they were okay. Megaforce and Super Megaforce oddly didn't do them. And I think that was largely to do with the fact that the series actually had a costume switch halfway through, and was going to do the legendary Ranger powers in Super Megaforce, so it would have seemed a little on the redundant side. That said, Dino Charge did it, and Dino Charges, while they were kind of goofy looking with the big battery embedded in the front of the armor, at least it looked like armor, and it didn't look like it was overly cumbersome. The Ninja Master mode just looks cumbersome to me. And so I get the idea. They're kind of trying to mimic the shape of a star, but it doesn't really come off that well to me. The actors themselves. So our characters here are Brody, the Red Ranger, Preston, the Blue Ranger, played by Peter Sudaru, by the way, who Peter Sudarso. Peter Sudarso was, or is, the brother of Yoshi, who was Koda on Dino Charge, rather. So I think this is the first time that brothers have portrayed Rangers in back-to-back seasons. Calvin Maxwell is our Yellow Ranger, Haley is our White Ranger, Sarah is our Pink Ranger, and eventually Levi is our Gold Ranger. And then we have Mick, played by the incomparable Kelson Henderson, who's probably the best thing about the show at this point. Kelson Henderson has been in Power Rangers since Dino Thunder. His first, I think, actual recurring role is in SPD as Boom. But he's had numerous recurring roles. I think at this point he might have actually, if he hasn't tied Bulk and Skull, he might have actually passed them, or at the very least Bulk, for consecutive number of seasons as a recurring character. Although he's never played the same character twice, for that matter. His characters don't go from season to season. But Mick in this is the mentor, which is sort of a role that he hasn't played before. But he does it well, and you actually buy it, especially if you know one Kelson Henderson from having seen previous Power Ranger shows, and you know sort of the way he carries himself, and that it plays into it, because in your head you do kind of realize, oh well, this was Boom, and it was this guy and that guy, and he was Flit and in Jungle Fury, and he was the Yeti in Operation Overdrive. So he's seen all this stuff. He's got to know something, even though you realize it's not really the same character. Plus, I mean, give the guy props. He's been doing this for, I think, almost 10 years now. When did Dino Thunder come out? Pardon me for a second while I do impromptu research. This came out in, it's not going to say. It's going to say 2012, because it's going to tell me the year that the disc was released. Well, anyway, Power Rangers Dino Thunder, I mean, it's, I think at this point more than 10 years ago. But, matter of fact, I know it is. Looking at this, if you know what years all the shows come out, it kind of helps. So anywho, he's been doing this a long time. That's my point. And it's really interesting to see him in that mentor role, and you can kind of buy it. But he's knocking on 50's door as Kelson Henderson at this point, so he brings a little bit to that role. The rest of the Ranger actors, I don't care for. And it's not their fault either, because you look at them and you can tell there's some talent on the screen. There's just nothing for them to do. It feels a lot as if somebody went to Chip Lynn after Dino Charge and went, so you know that thing you did in Dino Charge with the story and the character development and the building up of the team and the characters over the course of that whole first season, and having this serialized story, and we don't forget what we did last week and that kind of thing. Don't do that again. That's kind of what it feels like. It is far more toyetic. It is far more ridiculous. And I'm not going to fault the show for being more toyetic. That's not really something that they could control. Ninja is a highly toyetic show. It might be the most toy-driven Super Sentai show I had ever seen up to that point. The assortment of mecha Zords looked like it was a focus group stuck in a room going, okay, well, we know that kids like trains, and they like puppy dogs, and they like dragons, and they like ninjas, and they like dump trucks. So those are the Zords. There's no rhyme or reason or theme. And whatever the auxiliary Zords are going to be is whatever was all the other places on the list. The weaponry, I mean, nothing in the show that is a Ranger weapon doesn't look like a toy. You can say the same of most Power Ranger shows, but this one, it's as if they're slapping you in the face with it a little bit. I don't know how popular the Ninja was in Japan overall. I know among my group of friends who watch Tokusatsu and the folks here on the channel and our guests on DenziCaster, wasn't popular at all. And this show really does lean towards the ridiculous, over-the-top, just beat you to death with the ha-ha, which results in a couple of things. One, the sense of serialized storytelling really isn't there. They've planted seeds for things, but they've yet to follow up or even give any idea that they might. We haven't really talked a whole heck of a lot about Brody's got a brother, but Dad wasn't killed. He went missing. Where's Daddy? We've seen certain aspects of characters that haven't come back up again. Preston has real magical powers. He had them for one episode. We might see him use some version of them in his Ranger form, but he's able to use them as a civvy. We saw it once. Probably never again. Sarah is a technical genius for one episode. There's just a lot of things here that I shake my head at. Not the least of which is the return of something that I think feels very, very dated. We have two characters in the show, Victor, Vincent, and Monty. Victor Vincent is the spoiled rich kid, president of the student body, thinks he's far more popular than he really is. But he's that good-looking school president, popular, I'm great at everything guy. And then you have his nerdy sidekick, Monty. While in and of themselves, they are entertaining. And they seem to be the only two characters on the show that are actually defined. Outside of potentially Mick. They're supposed to be the bulk and skull of this series. And I really think that the time for a bulk and skull in Power Rangers, like season 1 bulk and skull, is kind of long since past. It really just doesn't fit. And it's just another thing that nudges the show that closer to being utterly ridiculous. So I'm gonna tell you my thoughts on these 8 episodes. There's some stuff in here that's good. There's some glimmers of hope. The high level concept is actually really kind of cool. The idea that the aliens going after our heroes are actually contestants on a game show. Yes, that sounds dumb as all get out, but you know what? It could be fun. There was a movie back in the 80s called Running Man where it was a similar concept. You had people that were put on the run, generally convicts, but they were on the run from these, sadistic gladiator executioner types, one of which was played by Jesse Ventura. And, it's the idea of the evil game show host. So, it's not like it's unheard of, but they really do nothing with it. There's certain trappings of it, but beyond that. The idea that our bad guy wants the ninja power stars and that's what he's here to get and so on feels so much like they're recycling the basic concept of Dino Charge, where the villains wanted the energems. Uh, the villains are after the source of the Rangers' powers. You're recycling the concept. Um, for that matter, they're recycling the music too, because the music that plays in the background of many of the Zord fights is an instrumental version of the Dino Charge theme song. It picks up at the Go Go Power Rangers part, but you can tell that it's the Dino Charge theme. Once it reaches the end and the crescendo of the music, you can hear it say Power Rangers Dino Charge. You can hear that rhythm in the music. It's not good. It's not good. It hurt my feelings a little bit, to be honest. The Ninja was garbage to me, in my opinion. This, if it is an improvement, it is only a slight one. The characters are bearable, our heroes, but not enjoyable. In the Ninja, they were almost insufferable. And for the record, some of the editing is about a slipshod kind of deal on there, because there is a particular attack one of the Zords does, and in the Ninja, they team up with the Kaku Ranger and Hurricaneger teams, or specifically the Red Rangers from each at one point, in that these two previous Red Rangers, Ninja Red and Hurricane Red, come back to train our new team of heroes. And so they get powers from those guys, and they use them at different points throughout the series. And so we see the Hurricaneger Wind Ninja Academy symbol appear in front of the cockpit, and off they go, and there's no explanation, there's no rationale for it. It's the symbol of a previous Power Ranger team. Nothing. The cockpit is a rehash of the Samurai Dino Charge cockpits, which was in and of themselves a rehash of the Samurai cockpits. Now, part of that you can blame for Samurai and Dino Charge. You can blame that on the Super Sentai shows, because that's the same style of cockpits they had on those shows. You can't blame it on that here, because it was a different kind of cockpit in the Ninja. I'm glad they didn't use the Ninja cockpit, but maybe they could have used something else. Not everybody has to look like they're fighting in G Gundam. So, yeah. If left to my own devices on my own accord, this show is a hard pass. Now, with that said, this is not my own accord. This is DenziNow on the network. You guys are in control. So here's the deal. I don't know when the next 8 episodes or next batch of episodes of Ninja Steel will go up on Netflix. However, when they do, or when the full season comes out on DVD, because I am a completionist and it will wind up on my shelf, even if I think it's a crappy season. I did buy Samurai. Then, if you guys want it, I will watch more of it. It could get better. It could get worse. If I don't have to watch any more of it, I'm not going to be offended. I wouldn't have been offended if the Roku remote had spontaneously combusted while it was sitting on the table to prevent me from watching more of it. But regardless, if you guys want me to watch more of this show, I will. Here's the way this is going to work. At this point in the show, there are 6 Rangers. And I think 2 auxiliary Zords, I think. So that's like 8. Sure. We're going to do some convoluted math. And I watched 8 episodes. That's perfect. It's coinky dink. We'll do this. If there are 8 likes, 8 thumbs ups, and 8 comments, and each comment has to come from a different user. Okay? It can't be the same person commenting 8 times. If we get 8 likes and 8 comments, I will watch the next batch of episodes of this show. Because like I said, left to my own devices, on my own accord, I'm punching out. I'm not going to review the rest of this on this channel because I don't want to have to suffer through more of it. I'll eventually get around to watching all of it, but I wouldn't do it soon, and I wouldn't do it on purpose. So, you guys are in control here. 8 thumbs up, 8 comments on this video. Tell me why I should watch it. Even if that is for your own personal amusement to watch me suffer. So be it. That's how you're going to get me to watch more Ninja Steel. If you don't, I'm not. I'm cutting it off here. I bought that toy before I ever saw the show. I slightly regret it. If you want to help us out here on the ECS network, though, and help us out with any of our great shows, you can do that by jumping over to cafepress.com/ECS network. Pick yourself up some cool merchandise, kind of like the Rage Quit Radio hat I'm wearing. It's got the old RQR logo on it now, the old school hat. Or go over to patreon.com/ECS network and become one of our patrons. That helps us out too. Any of the money we make off of that goes back into the channel. We need cameras, we need some more lighting, various things like that. I might need therapy if you make me watch more Ninja Steel. So there are lots of things that you guys can help us out with. Jump over to our Facebook page as well, facebook.com/DenziCaster. Leave some comments, conversation starters. Hey, check us out over there. Let us know your thoughts on the show in general. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, even though 8 of them and 8 comments are going to hose me, people. But if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Any kind of feedback, we greatly appreciate. Leave your comments down below. I'm hanging myself. Leave your comments down below. Let us know what you thought of the video. And, of course, hit that subscribe button because that helps us out here a lot, too, on the ECS network. Until next time, folks, on DenziNow, I'm Mike. I'll see you around. Maybe for Ninja Steel.